name is Hannah and today I'm going to be talking to you all about my summer knitting plans. Hello and welcome to What Hannah Knits. On this channel I love to chat with all of you about everything knitting related, and this summer I have a fair few projects that I would like to knit, and I do have yarn in stash for all of them. So today I am going to talk you through all of the patterns that I would like to knit this summer, and I'll give a little bit of information about each pattern as well. I'll also then dive into my yarn choices for each of those patterns and give some details about the yarn. So I do have a few camisole patterns to talk about today, as well as some t-shirts, a vest, a cardigan and also some socks. But before we go ahead and dive into all of that, I will, as always, start by talking about what I am wearing today. So this is the square neck camisole, and this is a pattern by Helena Baber, and it is a really lovely, of course, square necked camisole. You start this by knitting the sleeves, and then if I remember correctly, you knit the front and the back panels separately before joining in the round, and then you go back in at the end to add these double knitted sections on the armholes and the neck here. And it is knit all over in a ribbed pattern, and it of course has this really lovely square neckline, which I think is quite flattering. This pattern is also bra friendly because these straps are quite thick, so they cover up the bra straps as well, so it's really nice and practical. I would highly recommend this pattern if anybody is looking for an all over ribbed camisole, particularly if you do like those square necklines. I used the Katia baby merino yarn in this steel grey colour. This is a sport weight yarn, however the designer recommends a fingering weight. I believe she uses the Knitting for Olive merino yarn, but I was able to meet gauge with this one. I'm going to start by talking about the camisole patterns, and first up I have the mixed rib cami, and this is a pattern by Florence Miller. This is another all over ribbed camisole, and as the name suggests, it's knit in a mixed rib pattern, so there's a mixture of some wider ribbed sections and also some twisted stitches as well, and it has this lovely slashed neck detail, and the pattern is knit from the top down, so I believe you start by knitting the front and the back panels flat before joining in the round. This pattern comes in 9 sizes, and those sizes range from 75 to 155 centimetres. There is a recommended negative ease of between 10 to 15 centimetres as well. I am also going to start mentioning the prices of the patterns in these style of videos. Because I am from the UK, all of the prices that I mention will be in British pounds, and this pattern comes in at a total of £6. This pattern is knit up at a light fingering weight, and the gauge is 30 stitches by 38 rows in 10 centimetres. Florence uses the Knitting for Olive merino for her sample, and I am going to be using the same yarn to knit mine. So I have mine in the colour soft blue. This is a really lovely grey blue is how I would describe this colour. So in certain lights it looks grey, and in certain lights it looks blue, which I really like. This is of course a 100% merino wool, and you do get 250 metres per 50 grams. Next up I have another summer top quantity of the Knitting for Olive merino. This time it is in the colour Morning Haze, and this is a really nice marled grey colour, so there's lots of dimension in there. With this yarn I have 2 camisoles that I have not yet decided between. The first one is the camisole number 5 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. This camisole has a racer style neckline and it is again knit in all over rib. And as many of these camisoles are, it's knit from the top down, working those front and back portions separately before joining in the round. This pattern wouldn't be bra friendly because the armholes sort of sweep inwards like that to create the racer style shape. It's not something that I would be particularly bothered by because I would wear a strapless bra underneath this one. This pattern comes in 6 sizes and those sizes range from 74 to 103 centimetres. The price for this pattern translates to around £3.89. However, there are usually some fees on top of that because you're purchasing it from overseas. It probably depends on your bank and things like that, but I usually find for these type of patterns it comes in at a total of around £6 to £7 with everything included. Contender number 2 is actually a second square necked camisole, which would mean I would have this top in 2 different shades of grey, which is probably a little bit ridiculous, but I do get lots of wear out of this, and grey is just one of those colours that I tend to reach for a lot. So I know that I would get lots of wear out of that particular garment, but is it slightly ridiculous to have 2 knitted camisoles of the same pattern in very similar colours? Probably. Next up, I want to talk about the Sabai top by Suzanne Mueller. This is a really basic all over stockinette top with a boat neckline. There are 2 options for the neckline. The first is just a plain rolled stockinette edge, or there is also an option for a little bit of ribbing there as well. This pattern comes in 6 sizes and those sizes range from 85 to 131 centimetres. It is knit up at a gauge of 20 stitches by 28 rows, so around a DK weight gauge. The price comes in at £4.11. Again, I usually find that there would be some fees on top of that. The yarn that I have selected for this top is something that I picked up from eBay. It is a discontinued yarn and it is the Wild Silk by Jaeger. Hopefully you can get a view of some of the colours that are going on in this yarn. It is a blend of silk, linen and cotton. It comes in these 50-gram balls, and there is no other information on their ball band. I've done a bit of research and on Ravelry it is listed as a DK weight yarn, and I've knit up a little swatch on 4mm needles. This is what it is looking like. Hopefully you can see. So there are some blue, pinks and whites in there, and it's sitting on this beigey brown base. From what I can gather, this beigey brown strand is the silk, and it's spun with this secondary strand here, which is the cotton, and the cotton, it has the blues, whites and pinks running through. So it's really lovely. It gives a really nice effect when it's knit up, and it sort of reminds me of some of the Noro yarns as well, but I definitely didn't pay Noro prices for this. I have enough of this to probably knit up 2 summer tops, but I want to knit just the one this year and then probably save the second half of it to do something next year. When I had purchased the Jaeger Wild Silk, I also purchased this from the same eBay seller. This is the Jaeger Cotton Flamme or Flame, and it is one of those textured cotton yarns. I believe Petite Knit has been doing some designs in something similar. I think it's a gepard yarn that she's using for hers, but it has a similar look to it. Again, not a lot of information on the ball band other than it is approximately a double knit weight and it comes in these 50-gram balls. And this is a combination of cotton and viscose. So with this, I would like to knit up the Vacation Vest by Park Williams. This is a really lovely V-neck vest. It's all over in plain stockinette and it fastens at the front with little hook and eye closures. So it's a very simple garment. I think in a yarn like this for the summer it would be really lovely, especially if you are on a vacation or holiday somewhere nice and warm. This vest comes in 9 sizes and those sizes range from 86.5 to 167.5 centimetres. It is knit at a gauge of 18 stitches by 23 rows in 10 centimetres. And the cost for this pattern is £6.94. Now, just going back to the yarn, this does have a viscose content, so it is 45% viscose and the rest is cotton. In the past, I have had issues with viscose blend yarns growing a lot in the finished garment. So that is something that I am going to bear in mind when using this yarn. I don't think it's going to put me off using the yarn. I think I will probably just perhaps knit a size down or maybe a little bit of a tighter gauge than is recommended to alleviate for that growth that I will probably get in the finished garment. Next up is a project that I have actually already cast on, and this is the Shell Tee by Wool and Beyond. This is a short sleeve t-shirt with a horizontal panel of stockinette on the front yoke and some ruching detail at the back. And the rest of the tee is knit with a contiguous sleeve construction. This pattern comes in 8 sizes and those sizes range from 96 to 158 centimetres, and there is a recommended positive ease of 15 to 20 centimetres. And the gauge is 18 stitches by 24 rows in 10 centimetres. Price for this pattern comes in at around £6.97. I have already cast this on, so here is what the project is looking like so far. You can see the ruching detail on the back there. So this is knitting up really quick because it is knit on 5mm needles. And as you can see, I'm knitting it in this really lovely yellow colour. This is one of my dream projects. It has been on my to knit list for the longest time and I have just never got round to knitting it. And in January this year, this yarn was on sale for around 88p per ball. So I decided to buy a quantity with this pattern in mind. So you do get 75 metres per 50 grams, which makes this around a Aran weight, and this is in the colour lemon. We are having really lovely hot weather here at the moment, so I'm finding that this is the project that I'm reaching for the most because I find cotton really comfortable to knit with when the weather is warm. I find knitting with rustic wools and mohairs can make my hands quite sweaty, so I'm definitely reaching for this a lot. I have another t-shirt that I would really like to knit this summer, and this is the Tolsta tee by Rebecca Clow. This is a really lovely simple raglan t-shirt knit at a DK weight, but it is quite an open gauge for a DK weight, which makes it nice and light and airy for the summer. The pattern includes lots of ideas for modifications that you might like to make to your t-shirt. And last year I knit the Tolsta tee with the eyelet modification in a really lovely cotton yarn. So I would like to knit another one this year because I think it's just a really staple item. Another really fantastic thing about this pattern is when you purchase it, you will receive the instructions for the original DK weight Tolsta tee. You will also get the instructions to knit the t-shirt in a fingering weight, as well as instructions to knit long sleeves rather than t-shirt sleeves for the DK and the fingering weight. So 4 in 1 in terms of the garments, and then in terms of the modifications that you can make, the possibilities are endless. So really good value for money on this one. This pattern comes in 10 sizes, and there is also options to include bust shaping. So from what I can tell, depending on whether you include the bust shaping or not, the finished circumference of the garment can range from 80 to 180, I think. There is lots of sizes and lots of options. Basically, there are lots of sizes. From what I can see, there are 3 options in terms of bust shaping for B cup, D cup and F cup. So it's definitely worth having a little read through the pattern page if this is something you are interested in. So the yarn. Again, I want to knit this in cotton. I find that I have a lot of success with cotton garments for the summer. So these are the colours that I have selected, and this is the Rowan Summer Light DK yarn. It's 100% cotton. You get 130 metres per each 50-gram ball. So I have 4 different colours that I want to use together, and I want to knit these in a striped pattern for my Tolsta tee. We're coming towards the end now. I just have 2 more projects that I would like to speak about. And the next project is something that I would like to self-draft. So these are the yarns that I have selected. So first up, I have the Yarnsmiths Kidsilk Mohair, and this is in the colour Fjord Blue, and this is a blend of kid mohair and silk, and you get 212 metres per 25 grams, so a very standard lace weight mohair yarn. This is a relatively new yarn, which is by Yarnsmiths, and I believe they are Wool Warehouse's own brand of yarn. And I had a quick look on the website this morning, and they've actually released this mohair in a hand-dyed selection of colours, so I'd be intrigued to see how they knit up as well. I would like to hold the mohair with this yarn. This is again something that I thrifted from eBay, and this is from a small company over in a village nearby to the Lake District, and they are called Swaledale Woolens. They produce some of their own yarns from their own sheep, if I am correct. And this has been dyed up in this lovely blue colour. There's no information in regards to yardage and things like that, but it is just listed as a DK weight yarn. I think together these would make a really, really lovely combination. This yarn is quite rustic, and of course this is a mohair, so they will make quite a warm fabric when knit up together, which probably isn't the most summery, but we are in the UK, so although we're having lovely warm weather at the moment, this isn't always the case, and certainly in the summer evenings here, I quite often will need something like this to wear to keep me a little bit warmer. I would really like to knit these 2 yarns up into a really simple raglan cardigan in a all over ribbed pattern. It's something that I am semi-confident that I can self-draft. I have a vision in my head for what I want this to look like. I would like to take the finished garment on our summer holiday this year because we are heading off to Cornwall. As I mentioned, in the UK, in the summer evenings, I quite often need a knitted cardigan just to keep me a little bit warmer. I think this would be a really nice option to be able to take with me. My only worry is, as I've mentioned, because it is actually warm at the moment, I'm struggling to knit with things like this, so I may not get around to finishing it before we go on holiday. I don't want to force myself to knit on something that is uncomfortable in the warm weather. So it may be something that gets pushed down the line into autumn. We shall see how we go. The final pattern that I would like to knit this summer is the Be Creative Socks by Ducafi. These are a really beautiful pair of socks knit in an all over colourwork pattern, and they feature these really cute bee motifs. I tend to do quite a lot of sock knitting through the summer because I find them really easy to work on, because you don't have huge amounts of fabric sitting on you if it is warm. And perhaps not with a all over colourwork pair of socks where you have multiple balls of yarn, but certainly with a single colour pair of socks, they are really nice and easy to take if you are travelling anywhere over the summer as well. I get lots of wear out of my socks, and particularly all over colourwork socks. I love wearing through the winter when my feet get very, very cold. So I've decided that this year I want to knit more colourwork socks through the warmer months, so that when those colder months come in, I have got them ready to go. I have actually already cast these socks on, even though I have another pair of colourwork socks on the go at the moment, which should probably be taking priority. I was just too excited to get started on these. However, around 4 or 5 rows back, I can't quite remember now, but I have made a mistake somewhere. So I need to frog back, which means these have come to a bit of a halt at the moment, because that's a bit of a roadblock for me. I'm not looking forward to frogging this colourwork. But as you can see, the bee is just starting to appear there. And here is what they look like on the back. And you start with this twisted, it's half twisted rib, sorry, not full twisted rib for the cuff. So the yarns that I'm using, I have 2 yarns from Yarnsmiths. This is their merino sock. So I have this really lovely yellowy orange, very sunshiny type colour, and then this green as well. So this is what I'm using for the cuffs and the toe. And for the base, I am using this yarn. This is my first time working with this yarn, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Oh, I've got a hair stuck there. This is by Sheepies. It is their Arcadia yarn. It is a superwash wool blend with 25% polyamide. Just a standard fingering weight sock yarn really, but I'm really enjoying this yarn and it's quite affordable, so I would definitely reach for this again. I have used the Yarnsmiths merino sock before. It is a really nice sock yarn. The one thing I would say about it is, because it is merino and it's extremely soft, it pills a lot. You can see even in the hank, it's already starting to go very fuzzy. So if you are prepared to do lots of maintenance on your socks, then this yarn would probably be fine for you. I don't mind, particularly in colour work. I'm hoping it won't be too bad, but it certainly does pill a lot. So that is all of the projects that I would like to speak about today. I think it is semi-ambitious, particularly with the fingering weight camisoles. They take up a lot of knitting time, but I think I can get round to knitting a fair few of these projects this summer. So I'm really excited. I think I've got a really good variety of plans, and I really enjoy just collating them all together in these style of videos. I think it really helps me to keep on track and have those specific projects that I really want to introduce into my wardrobe, just to be able to keep them at the forefront of my mind and not be too swayed by spontaneous cast-ons. And that is just because in the past, when I have cast things on quite spontaneously, I've found that I actually don't wear the finished object all too often, because there probably hasn't been too much thought into, do I really want this, or am I just being influenced by what I'm seeing on social media? So I find for me, putting a little bit of time and effort into planning around what I really want to knit, and putting my knitting time into things that I know I'm going to love and wear really works. And as I said, collating it like this really helps me to stay on track. So I'm excited to see how many of these projects I can get started, and more importantly, how many of them can I finish and actually have the chance to wear this summer. We shall see. Hopefully there will be a couple that do get finished this season. So as always, I love to hear about what you have been up to. If you are planning on knitting anything specific this summer, please do let me know. I would love to hear what you're planning on making. And do let me know if you also like to plan for your knitting, or are you the opposite of me and are you more of a spontaneous knitter? I would love to know what your thoughts are on that as well. If you have made it through to this point in the video, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope that I will see some of you again in the next one. Thank you, bye.